let's get going, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So hi, everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your day to join us. I'm Benny Hurwitz, brand ambassador for Wild Turkey Distilling Co. Campari Academy has partnered with Portland Cocktail Week for their distance learning seminars, led by amazing industry folks from around the country. Today, we're joined by two of my favorites, two of my friends. But before we get into their introduction, today's distance learning course is sponsored by Wild Turkey, of course. A lot of y'all are probably familiar with the brand and maybe even visited the distillery. So you probably know that Wild Turkey is also home to Russell's Reserve. So a little more about Russell's. It actually starts the same way as Wild Turkey, which is pretty cool. We only have that one mash bill for bourbon and one for rye, 100% non-GMO grains. It goes through the same fermentation process with our proprietary yeast and our same distillation off of our two stills, our 52-foot all copper column still and our copper doubler. And then it goes into those number 4 charred American white oak barrels. So on day one, no matter what that product may become, every barrel gets stamped Wild Turkey and then goes off to age. So Russell's Reserve is really unique in the sense that it is a smaller batch product for us. And it's all about barrel selection, age, bottling proof, and of course, the experience of the Russells themselves. So if anybody doesn't know, Jimmy Russell and his son, Eddie Russell, are our co-master distillers. They've worked at Wild Turkey for over 100 years combined, which is pretty incredible. Jimmy's been there for over 6.5 decades now, and he's really just a testament to why Wild Turkey is the way it is, why we make it the way it is. And then his son, Eddie, came along and really honed in on what he liked, what he knew about the warehouses, what his father really built, and that's how Russell's Reserve was created. So the product you see in front of me is our 10-year-old small batch. It's 90 proof, but again, it starts with all those same quality ingredients and same process. Every drop of Wild Turkey and Russell's is made at the same place, no matter where in the country or where in the world you're joining from and drinking it with us if you are. So I thought it was fitting to talk about Russell's because overall it is a smaller part of the production at Wild Turkey. And today our guests are going to be talking about being an underdog, how to thrive in a small market. So without further ado, I want to introduce to y'all my friends, Kat Cannon and Cecil Usher of Mindful Hospitality Group. So they are a bar consulting and private events company based in Pittsburgh. The three of us actually go way back to our days at Camp Run Amok. Of course, we've all been a few times now, and it's kind of cool because I went from camper to counselor, and when I became a counselor, Cecil was my head counselor, and then I became a head counselor the following year, and I was Kat's head counselor when she was a counselor. So it's kind of awesome.
Wild Turkey Cabin, nonetheless.
And she was in the Wild Turkey Cabin. So I mean, it was all very fitting. Look at us now. They're over in Pittsburgh doing their thing, killing it. So I want to have them tell us a little bit more about their company, what they're doing, and how they really thrive in a small market, the things that you can focus on and do maybe in your market to help you out as well. So guys, let's hear it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Benny.
Thank you, Benny, so much. Big thanks to Benny, Wild Turkey, and Campari for sponsoring us today, and also Lush Life for having us. When Lindsay and the team of Lush Life reached out to us, we were beyond excited to be able to host a class. And then we're immediately met with a lot of nervousness, be like, well, what can we offer? I feel like being from a small market, it's easy to kind of get lost in what you do here. And being as that we're typically seen on like a mentorship level in Pittsburgh, you get nervous that what can you have to offer? While you can offer things in your own market, is it going to kind of play to other people in other markets? So as we kind of like toss around ideas of what we are good at and what we know what we're experts about, it was about being from a small market. And so that's why it was really important for us to have this class today, and that this is not going to be your typical bartender class. It's really important for us to like share our experiences, how to successfully create and operate credible bars in small markets because there isn't a book how to do this. There's no how-to manual. So yeah, we're just pumped to share our information that we've gathered and that we hope that we can provide insight and create a learning curve for others.
Yeah, even if you're not from a small market, it still might be insightful. And just to see how, we all interact at places like Camp Runnock. And, some people are going through, have difficult access to things. It's amazing to taste these products, but, it might be a year until we actually get the product in our own market. So we're going to talk about how to just, be able to finagle and work our way around those things and still being able to, feel like you're on par with some of the larger markets.
So today we hope that we hope to provide you with insight and perspective, like Cecil said, even if you're not from a small market. If you are from a small market, giving you that perspective of your perceived disadvantage and how you can position yourself into be a competitor on a national stage. If you're not from a small market, you'll be able to have a better understanding of the struggles and challenges that come with being from one. And if you work with the brand or marketing sector of the industry, we hope we can convince you how spending time, attention, and money in small markets could be even more beneficial to your overall goals. Just one quick thing before we begin, we want to stress that today we will be intentionally breaking down and defining various terminologies that to some might seem obvious. This conversation is about one of tackling disadvantages within our industry, and therefore we want to be clear and detailed as possible for anyone at any level of understanding of the industry. So please, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to type in the chat. Benny's going to be fielding that for us. We also definitely want this to be a conversation more than just kind of like us talking.
Yeah, we want to hear shared experiences. If you guys have similar things, or you're from a bigger market, never heard of these certain things, please feel free to ask. We all have to kind of work under the same 3-tier system. It's different in almost every state, and there's different rules and regulations. We're going to touch on some of those things. So yeah, we're here to kind of, engage and again, just tell our story.
Yeah. So as Benny introduced us, we are Mindful Hospitality Group, a bar consulting and private events company based in Pittsburgh. I'm actually going to let Cecil kind of give you the history on how Mindful came to be.
Yeah. So again, kind of through the process of trying to, I guess, learn how to manage bars in this kind of market, we were able to develop a lot of skills that not a lot of people had to work with or jump hoops through. So learning on how to resource products, how to talk with reps, how to work deals with reps and brands to bring in products, to bring in people and larger ambassadors for your staff, for staff training and staff learning. We kind of had to help work towards this buildup. So I personally have over 15, 16 years in this industry, about 9, 10 years of bar management experience. And after all these years of doing it, I felt like I kind of developed a lot of tips and rules that I wanted to kind of share with the larger city that it was just harder to do when I was working with one bar. So I kind of came to Kat. She also has traveled a lot, and I felt that between the two of us and our connections and reach, that we were able to probably do something special. So I wanted to, again, utilize what we did and what we are already doing and be able to go to different bars in the city and help them expand and grow their programs. Just like everything else, more bars that are successful in your city, the bigger your city paralysis is. And that's how, you can raise the market level of your city, is by having more excellent bar programs. So, it's no reason why we're talking about this, because that's a lot of what our business does. Our business is trying to raise the level of the bar world in general, and especially in our smaller market, and getting everybody to see how awesome, even in our small market, that the places are.
Yeah. And that being said, we are actually currently in the process of opening a bar, hopefully this weekend. So at some point, Cecil might need to go.
Yeah, if you see me running away, it's not because I don't love you guys.
He'll be back. He's just dealing with a lot of deliveries.
We have a lot of deliveries and installations today in the kitchen, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate. But yeah, it's crazy times, but you wouldn't want to be anywhere else but talking to you guys. So
Yeah.
we'll digress a little bit.
Yeah. So before we launched our company in the fall of last year, we were just two bartenders, bar managers, kind of navigating this world of building careers, not only in small markets, but also in one of a control state, a situation I personally would not want to wish on my worst enemy. So again, going back to like kind of boiling it down to like layman's terms for people, just a little background, a controlled state by definition is a state that has a monopoly over the wholesaling and or retailing of some or all categories of alcoholic beverages. The laws vary between the 17 different control states, so I won't get into the nitty gritty, but just know that the government takes a lot of things out of our control to begin with, which makes dealing with larger distributors and out-of-market companies confusing and complicated. And on top of that, has actually left us and many others at a loss for opportunity in some situations. So until officially joining forces and starting a business together last year, we spent the majority of our careers individually working for, as well as helping develop and manage some of Pittsburgh's most notable bar programs, albeit we're a little biased of that. But so the first is Mean Potatoes. Bean Potatoes is Pittsburgh's first gastropub that helped create what is now known as downtown Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh's cultural district, excuse me. Before Mean Potatoes, there were really no nightlife downtown.
Yeah, mostly chains. Nothing stayed open till 10 o'clock, maybe max, and definitely not a nightlife as much. And that was one of the first bars to stay open to 2 o'clock downtown, which was only known as a business district, and kind of started the trend of that nightlife and revigoration of a whole area as well.
Yeah, when I was growing up in Pittsburgh, like no one was downtown after 6 p.m.
Which was odd for me coming from New York. So definitely bringing that nightlife aspects kind of changed the game. And also menu development, we're having, back then, that was 11 years ago now, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, sorry, excuse me, about having, classic cocktails. They were one of the first bars to feature classic cocktails on their menu, listed as classics with the year the cocktail was published or came out.
Yeah. Then is Butcher in the Rye, which is one of the top 5 largest whiskey programs on the East Coast. So they have about $250,000 in sitting inventory at Butcher in the Rye, including that beautiful, beautiful whiskey wall that you can kind of see in the slides. And Cecil helped develop that program.
Yeah, that was the bar that most of you guys I probably met that I was running. Large whiskey wall, especially if you went to camp with me, then I was always buying whiskey all the time, or having you go to distilleries and buy me whiskey for that wall as well. That was a real fun place. We got nominated twice for Best Cocktail Program for James Beard, our opening year, and the following year after that as well.
Yeah. Then was Taco, which is a farm-to-street taqueria with over 250 tequilas and mezcals.
Yeah, nice, fun area again. All these last 3 restaurants are with the same restaurant group, the Richard DeChance restaurant group. I learned a lot from that, from the chef, Richard DeChance, on the creativity of these spaces. Check them out on their website. He was amazing at designing spaces and menus, and taught me a lot of what I know and what I take now into my business of how to construct beautiful living spaces as well.
Then is Small Man Galley and Federal Galley, a chef incubator concept with centralized bar program that produced thematic cocktail menus, such as the Sandlot and Tony Hawk Pro Skater. They also had a strong focus on supporting local charities and nonprofits through events. This was kind of my first big thing that I did as my career in Pittsburgh, is helped open these places, part of the opening team of Small Men, develop those menus, as well as the opening bar manager of Federal. They are pretty unique concepts, and learned a lot about how to operate on your own, working with chefs that are not necessarily part of your business plan. It just provided a really unique perspective on the industry as well to be a part of that. And then next is Poulet Bleu, which is another Richard DeChance restaurant. It's a modern meets rustic French restaurant with bar program modeled after Harry Craddock's Savoy cocktail book.
Yeah, that was a real fun concept that we did there. Kind of wanted to go a little simple, keep it light-esque, as much as you can be light in French, and kind of modeled it after, during that Prohibition time where When people actually talk about prohibition, they usually mean European cocktails, since drinking was illegal in America and kind of went underground. Nothing really was being creative, and all the creative bartenders went to Europe and were running the New York style or American style bars out there. So that was kind of modeled after an American style bar with some European flair. Again, a beautiful crafted space with concept that kind of tied in with the cocktail program as well.
And then the last bar that we both worked at before launching Mindful Hospitality was Lorelei, which is a German beer bar in Alpine.
First time we ever worked together.
Yeah, first time actually we ever worked together was in this place. Although we did sit on the USPG Pittsburgh Council together, been friends for years. But yeah, this is the first time we ever worked together at Lorelei, German beer bar with an Alpine-inspired cocktail lounge. And so while we've both been fortunate to be a part of these incredible teams and countless as well, part of these incredible teams, we've had countless struggles, not only to open these concepts, but also to operate on a daily basis in an effort to help develop them into competitive programs due to being from a small market. So first, to kind of set the stage of our community in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is not only a small market in a control state, it's also a very small city in a very large state that also includes a major market, Philadelphia. So just to give you an idea of the size difference of the two cities, Philadelphia has a population of 1.584 million people, and Pittsburgh's population is 301,048.
Yeah, people don't realize how big Pennsylvania is. It's one of the larger states. I know every time, are you by Philadelphia? Not even close. I can get to Buffalo, New York faster than I can get to
Detroit sooner.
Yeah, I can get to Detroit, I can get to West Virginia.
DC.
We can leave the state faster than we can travel across our state just to get to the next largest market as well. And this all plays into allocations as well, because everything between us and Philadelphia all has to get drop-offs. So there's beautiful product that's sitting in the middle of our state, probably not getting touched at all.
Yeah. So this just creates a wide variety of difficulties off the bat. So first of all, there are basically no brand ambassadors that live in Pittsburgh. They all live in Philadelphia. If you were from Pittsburgh and wanted to become a brand ambassador, you would have to move, which, by the way, we've had at least 3 bartenders do in the last year. As Cecil was talking about, we have issues with allocation. So purely based on the numbers that Philadelphia has, Philadelphia will automatically get allocated a majority of anything unique, exciting, or popular purely based on numbers. The facts are that it doesn't matter how excited Pittsburgh is about something or engaged, our numbers will always pale in comparison by sheer population. And therefore, we won't be allocated what we personally would consider our fair share.
Yeah, they don't go by consumption, because I know there were definitely times of products that I remember even kind of fighting with where we by far would exceed it, but we had the lowest amount of allocation towards it. And even 10 years ago, when I first moved to Pittsburgh, I remember in the state and Pennsylvania in general, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, both petitioning the state to allow products like maraschino liqueur and creme de violette in, just so we can make classic cocktails at the time, where every other place could have those products. We had to fight the state in order for them to get it on their board. As Kat said, for part of the control state, the state has to approve all bottles being sold. So we had to help get those bottles petitioned so they can be in the store so we can use them for drinks.
And there are also just a lot of other struggles and challenges that we deal with, even if Philadelphia wasn't in the mix. We're not a highly trafficked city or airport, which means less frequent visits and little to no attention from prominent and influential brand representatives. We're not, no one has layovers here. We're not an accessible city. So you have to be coming to Pittsburgh with the intention of coming here.
Airport is not the best for sure. And I know I've definitely had conversations with a lot of brand reps nationally where they would, I say I'm from Pittsburgh. They're like, oh, I've been hearing about Pittsburgh. I'd love to visit. It's just so difficult between having to make so many stops just to get here. Yeah. Even if you're in Philadelphia or New York City, you have to stop off somewhere else sometimes just to get into the city, as opposed to it's only a 2-hour flight, if that, hour and change.
But so then there's also just a lack of general brand attention overall, which is brand activations. We have, when brands do come in, they have much smaller smaller budgets here than they would have in other places. There was actually a lot of lack of COVID resources. There were some brands that were offering resources to bartenders in major markets, but Pittsburgh wasn't eligible for those. Mostly not dealing with like money per se, but also meals and that kind of thing. There's also we sometimes find ourselves not included in cocktail competitions that are in Pennsylvania. But like there was one very recently that you had to live within 100 miles of all the markets listed, and Pittsburgh is over 300 miles from Philadelphia. We thought about kind of putting specific examples in here, but this isn't about calling anyone out. It's just about identifying disadvantages. We also experience loss of talent, lots of talent. It's very common for talented bartenders and sommeliers to move to larger markets because they see little room for growth in our small market. And I mean, to be fair, until about a year or so ago, like we felt the same way. We thought that we would probably have to move at some point in order to keep like growing our careers. There's also a lack of national press and attention. Again, because we're a low traffic city and airport, the people who write for national publications or influential in nomination processes for awards, such as James Beard or Spirit Awards, very rarely travel through the city limits and have a chance to experience some of the incredible programs and the talent that call our little city home. So it's not to say that there is zero attention, just very little comparatively speaking. And kind of like the final disadvantage that we're going to touch on today as far as identifying is we now have a surplus of inexperienced or entry-level brand reps. This is a lot, or just liquor reps in general. This is a lot to do with, again, loss of talent to other markets, as I touched on, as well as a testament to some of the original crop of brand reps when those positions were first created. They were all former bartenders in Pittsburgh, and they were so good at their jobs that they were just continually promoted. So as they continually get promoted, it leaves the pool of already in a tiny city with a tiny population even smaller than it was before.
Yeah, that definitely becomes difficult to work with as being a bar manager, where somebody that you were working with before has all the information and kind of has a little more insight, that as soon as they get rewarded, which as they should, they get moved up. But then the next person you have to work with probably knows less than you. And that could be very problematic if that half the time when I was trying to look for things or get more information on products, I knew more about it than they did. I can't tell you how many times I've told my reps that either we're losing a product, that a product was going to be discontinued and I wanted to buy all of it before it left, or something like that. And they looked at me kind of surprised, like, I didn't hear this. And I'm like, go ask your boss or go, find out. And then they come back to me a couple of days later, like, oh, you're right. I do see it now. How many do you want? So, and that's not to blame anybody else. It's just because of knowing our limitations, we had to develop that edge somehow. We had to pay attention to national news and, talk to our friends like Benny and, hey, what's going down with Wild Turkey? What's happening out there? And be able to call on them and see when things are happening that we have that advantage.
Yeah, and we'll kind of touch on more about how you can leverage even those disadvantages to kind of set yourself up for success. So we could sit here and complain and give you 1,000 more struggles that we face every day. But the point of today isn't to complain again. It's this whole part is to just identify, because until you can identify the problems, you don't know how you can overcome them and solve them, right? So once you identify those difficulties, you can begin to develop and execute a plan to overcome them. So for bartenders just dipping their feet into the industry and wanting to grow, the first steps are really simple and super fun. So apply for every local, regional, and national opportunity and attend every opportunity possible, because what's the point of applying if you're not going to go, right? And while you're there, ask all of the questions, absorb as much information as you can, and just network your butt off. At first, our desire to apply to opportunities such as Portland Cocktail Week and Camp Burnamuck and attend Tales and Bar Institute was purely in an effort to further our education, which it did 100%. But upon our first trips out of market, we quickly realized the biggest takeaway was the connections we were able to make and the people we were exposed to that we otherwise wouldn't have been.
Yeah, definitely realizing that when you go to these events, I can remember 10 years ago going to Bar Smarts Live. It was one of the first, I think, 3 to 5 classes they had. I know I took my test with the whole staff of employees only was there. It was definitely probably like that early, cocktail pre-hate bartender days of employees only. And when I said that I was from Pittsburgh, they lumped me up with, and it was just in New York, they lumped me up with people from California and Alaska who traveled to New York City to take this test because it was kind of, they were like, whoa, people from Pittsburgh are here. That's so far off. So traveling, getting your city out there, representing your city in the best way possible, seeking the information and getting that face time with these people, letting them know that there are some serious players in your area, encouraging your coworkers to do the same as well. The more people I see leaving from Pittsburgh, and then they know somebody or meet somebody that knows me, and they get that automatic connection. You're not only doing it for yourself, you're doing it for everybody else who comes after you.
Yeah. And so we've taken every possible opportunity to travel. And during every single minute of every event when we're traveling, we're constantly working on building connections and relationships. Because we're in a small market, we can't afford to sit back and relax as much as we might like, because we know this might be the only opportunity to get in front of key people and decision makers who otherwise wouldn't travel to Pittsburgh. So no moment can be wasted. And another advantage that we have of being from a small market, kind of what Cecil was touching on, is that because we're from a small market, we kind of stand out in our small market. There's not a ton of people traveling from Pittsburgh. And so therefore, it has given us incredible opportunities where we've actually now started getting to be paid to leave and travel outside of our market and to represent Pittsburgh, where if we might be from a larger market, we would just be one in another 1,000 of fish in the sea kind of thing. So another important thing is just take the time and actually learn the business, learn the whole business, read everything. Learn the 3-tier system and how it applies to where you live. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the 3-tier system is a system of alcohol distribution within the United States. So the 3 tiers are made up of importers, wholesalers, and retail. The basic structure of the system is the producers can only sell to wholesalers who can sell to, the basic structure is producers can only sell to wholesalers who can sell to retail, and only retails can sell to consumers. So the basic system, this is the basic system. It can vary depending on where you live, but the understanding what the system is and how it works will help you make it work for you rather than against you.
Yeah, small markets is where that middle section is owned by the state itself. So the state is the importer. They get all the booze from, say, Russell's. They would have, whatever Russell's is a new product, they have to apply for allocation into the state. The state then approves. If they did a bourbon and a rye, the state might only approve for the bourbon, not the rye. So that means then we will only have access to that bourbon and not the rye, which again, even though I know it exists, I know it's out there. I've been down to Kentucky. Benny's been talking my ear off about it, that it's going to be really good. I can't get it because the state decided not to bring that one SKU in, which is, again, very problematic, especially in the world of whiskey, where when I was running Butcher, that was a thing. People can read, many publications on these hot new spirits. And if you're going to call yourself a whiskey bar, you had to have them. You couldn't, talk about the difficulties of not being able to get these products.
Yeah. So it's really easy to be frustrated when you're from a small market, especially when you begin traveling, because you meet all these great people from all these large markets and they're doing all these cool things and you necessarily can't do them the same way. And so instead of getting upset and frustrated of the advantages that other large cities have, what we have done and what we encourage you to do is immerse yourself in what they've been able to accomplish. And once you do that, you can begin to break it down and kind of figure out, okay, what can I take from what they did and apply it to what I have to work with here? I think a big mistake we see people make is people worshiping famous bar programs and trying to emulate them without really understanding what it took to make that place great, and if it will even be applicable into what they are actually trying to accomplish.
Yeah, outside of only small markets and the things that you do there, we have different client bases. So, the people in your city might not be ready for that molecular, drink that's in an orb that's served on a spoon. That might not work for your market. But how can you take these techniques of learning how to spherification, all these cool things that actually all these amazing people and friends of ours have taught these classes about? They might not all work well into your market, but by going out and traveling, as we first said, you can reach out to these people who have taught these classes and see what tips that they can maybe even give you and help you do something that does work better in your market, that might make it more, reasonable for your clientele base, that where it's not going to go over the head. Because that's one thing that I hate to see, is where people see these major bars and they want to try to do aviary style cocktails, in their small market, where nobody asked for that. Nobody wanted that. They just wanted a good Manhattan. Can you make a good Manhattan? Or I don't want to take your smoked ice cube somewhere else, kind of thing. It's not for everywhere. Every technique is not meant to be had. Don't do it for flash. Do it because you're trying to enhance the experience.
Yeah. And if you just do something honest and creative that resonates with people, you can do that by understanding your market and what it likes and what it wants, and be true to what you do and to what your city will want. Because like Cecil said, not wow, gastronomy cocktails are super cool. It might not be needed in that exact moment in your market. And I feel like that's where we see a lot of small market bars miss the mark of opening a place for the people, instead of instead of opening a place for the people, they open it for themselves. And so we're all in hospitality here. That's what it's at the end of the day. So you need to do the research and figure out what your community wants and needs from you, and kind of work your views into
look to create those spaces, create that the environment that you want, that your guests need to have, and they're going to get the most out of it, that they're going to support you, because that's what it is. That's how we get these things, is by getting the support of your area.
Yeah, and when you have that full 360-degree view of all the moving parts in our industry, you can begin to see your situation in 3D. And therefore, you can start thinking outside the box of how you can create things that are special and work with your own parameters. So also through our travels and connections, we've been able to gain a better understanding of the advantages that bar managers have in larger markets, and leverage that understanding when working deals with reps and brands. By understanding what the possibilities are in other places and sharing your insider knowledge, you not only show that you're not someone who can be taken advantage of, but you can also use it as an opportunity to get more by giving less.
Yeah, leverage is the name of the game. And what can you do for a brand, and understanding what brand goals are when you're talking to your representatives is huge. Everybody has a job to do. And if you're going to be asking for something, understanding what they need to have happen when you go talk to them, and almost speaking it into existence, you'll get what you are looking for 9 out of 10 times, developing those deeper relationships, because they will trust you. And whenever things do come around or things do come out, you have that rapport and that bond that they're going to let you know right away. And that's key, especially in small markets with limited allocations. If there's only going to be 19, 20 something bottles of a product coming out, I better be the first person that knows about it. So I play that game. I work with them all year long on what their goals are and what my goals are, and making sure that we have that connection throughout it.
Yeah. Also, when you do open a really cool bar and people seem to love and flock to it, keep your humility and humbleness in check, and at the forefront at all times. It is a really exciting and a cool thing to be part of a bar program that kind of pops off from the jump. But remember, you want to build something that will continue to grow and prosper, and this takes time. It's really easy to be caught up in quick growth, and it's a high you'll forever be chasing. Quick growth can plague you with a desire to keep that growth rate high and at all costs, and it leads to quick decisions opposed to smart ones. And ultimately, it can be the reason that you fail. I personally have been a part of bar programs that saw a lot of success early on, and that made them really excited. And they just started going, and without really evaluating their business and understanding it in general and going into other markets. And they've since then have just kind of completely failed, definitely in those other markets, and even here within Pittsburgh as well. Always just kind of keeping yourself in check with what is the goal in mind. It's not to create a really cool spot. Being cool can die out at any point in time. You want to be a staple within your community.
Yeah, I think taking care of, like, you're trying to take care of two different people when you're in management. Management is always playing that middle ground. One, you're trying to take care of your guests. That's the hospitality. I want to make sure that gives them something that they're proud of when they have friends or business partners traveling in town. They want to show off your bar. Then the second half of that is taking care of your staff, because your staff is going to be, more than anything else, your legacy. The people that come from your staff, of you being able to provide education opportunities, learning opportunities, support is going to be key. And that's where you see these amazing bar programs that, nationally have blew up, where they all worked with each other because they all came from that same understanding environment. And you can create that environment, even especially in a small market, by taking care of your people, taking care of your staff, making sure that, they have all the opportunities that they're looking for, and really, pushing grow people in this business is a huge thing that I don't think a lot of people look back at. You got to take care of the people who are going to take care of the guests.
Yeah, absolutely. So also, because of loss of talent and how small and new the Pittsburgh market is, when building programs, we don't always know even what the best or most efficient way to do something simply is, because we just haven't been doing it this long. But because we've retained these relationships with all types of people in different positions in every market around the world, we've been able to lean on those people for advice on best techniques, systems, protocols, and use that to our advantage to elevate each bar program that we put our hands on. This not only improves the overall professionalism of the programs, but also excites our staffs and makes more people want to work with us. It also yields excellent results in the level of hospitality able to be provided, which is recognized by the community at large and the local press. And garnering local press attention is the first way to harnessing national press attention. And then we just encourage you to continue to cultivate the relationships you've built, not only from traveling, but by networking in your own city and not losing sight of that. By developing a relationship on all levels with spirits companies, we've been able to have firsthand knowledge and keep tabs, kind of like what Cecil was talking about earlier, on exciting new products and changes. This gives us the advantage when working with less experienced and knowledgeable reps, and makes our reps work harder for us in general. As Cecil said again, like countless times, we've known something is coming or going from a rep's portfolio before they do. And this definitely keeps them on their toes and pushes them to know their portfolio inside and out. When you push them to work harder, it will benefit not only you, but every other one of their accounts, and therefore creates a trickle-down effect. It also gives us a league advantage to immediately work with our reps and brands to get products in high quantity, specifically allocated to our market and to our bar programs that otherwise might not end up in Pittsburgh, period. And by doing this, we're able to have products that aren't available at any other bar in Pittsburgh, which then elevates our bar programs and creates something that we can promote, gets our staff and the community excited.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I can say, for an example of one of my times where that whole scenario that Kat played out came to my advantage was, some of my time spent at Camp Renamuk, where during, the late nights after campfire and everybody's just kind of hanging out by the dorms, I was able to hang out with Dave Pickerel, who's one of, master distiller, great producer for many years, and just where he launched Whistle Pig at camp, was able to sit with him, and we were in the back of his car, popped his trunk, and he just has all these whiskey bottles from the 60s, 70s that were just taking sips of different things and telling me stories of all his friends and distillers that he knew, and really got a chance to develop a relationship with him, enough so that every time when he came into the city, he would always make sure to stop at whatever bar I was working at. And as that relationship kept blossoming and growing, whenever a product would come out of his, he would always give me a special allocation. So one advantage that I had where one time one of their more premium spirits was coming out, and I would get a phone call from my rep, because like I said, working those relationships, they would tell me, hey, Cecil, we have 19 bottles of this product coming out. How many would you want? And I told them, oh, no, I'm okay, none. And when she paused, and like, what do you mean? You always want, as much as you can. Usually you tell me you try to get everything, and I tell you no. I'm like, no, I'm actually okay on this. I already have some. And you could hear her voice kind of like, because she didn't say nothing, but I hear confusion. And what she didn't know was that I already talked to her boss, her regional rep, because Dave reached out to her and he allocated me 24 bottles of this product that they were sending me directly from the distillery for my bar program. So, without, just on that one time or a couple of times of that interactions and building those relationships, I didn't have to fight in the same kind of way in those rat races. I didn't have to jump through those hurdles and compete against other bars, or even right now competing with the public, because now they make all these products go straight public, and bars and people are fighting for the same bottles.
A lottery system.
Yeah, and a lottery system to have on their shelves. I kind of circumvented all that, and by building these relationships and utilizing camp and all these other in Portland, Cocktail Week, and all these other amazing events that we go to my advantage.
So another thing that we just kind of want to stress is the responsibility. If you're in a small market, the responsibility is yours and yours alone. If you feel like there's a lack of information in your market, it is your responsibility to gather it. If there is no mentor in your city, you need to become that mentor. Stop waiting for someone to come in and just make it better. We see so many small market people just waiting for that one big opportunity to come to them instead of creating their own opportunities. When we launched Mindful, it was because we saw a lack of opportunities and thought we'd eventually need to move somewhere else. But we loved Pittsburgh so much and knew its potential that we decided to take upon ourselves and open this company. And now we're able to help change the landscape and provide more opportunity and growth for our industry. We just would love to see more people in small markets kind of taking ownership of the power that they have.
Creating that network that you're looking for. I think of one thing, very good thing with small markets, usually that you have a smaller, tighter population and a smaller, hopefully connected bar community. Cultivate that bar community. That's the most important thing. Again, it's less about you having an amazing bar program and you're just hoping that your bar gets the attention. That's a disadvantage. We need other bars around you so that if somebody wants to come visit me because of what I'm producing, I can send them to 2-3 other places that they're like, oh, wow, there's a lot of great bars out here. And now they're going to go back and say, you know what? I had an amazing time in Pittsburgh. I went to go see Cecil at this bar, but he saw me down here. He sent me over there. And now the knowledge and the paralysis and the perception of the city changes and elevates. So we can help each other out. We need to form that tight community knit and help teach and help educate, help promote those things. Like I said, don't wait for somebody to come tell you what to do. Reach out. There's so much information out there. I tell Kat all the time, just Google it or talk in our camp chats or go to Portland Cocktail Week Facebook. During the whole initial lockdown of COVID, I sat and watched old videos on classes. And, I forgot that they're all there. I can literally have Eric Castro teach me a class about Cajun cocktails for free. Just me and Eric Castro. I didn't have to put on pants. It's great. Learning about whatever questions you might have. There was probably a class already taught on this subject. Google it, look at these great resources and find out the information, and then talk with other people because there might be some insight that you don't know.
Yeah. And the most important thing that you can do is give back. Reach out and share your knowledge. We've used our resources and all of our opportunities to give back to the community, not only through our bar programs, but also through the USBG and the Pittsburgh community at large. It's one thing to just go to all these incredible, cool events and conferences and enjoy the heck out of them, but it's another thing to take everything you've learned and share it with anyone willing to listen. Because of what us and other bartenders like us have learned and share with the community, Pittsburgh has become an incredible, yet small, thriving city in both the cocktail and bar scenes. So then, like, what comes next? Just because Cecil and I are up here talking to you today does not mean we're holding the lone candle for Pittsburgh or other small markets for that matter. Small markets across the country have already put in a lot of work to gain traction. So this fight was initiated by so many people before us and carried on with the help of many others. But it literally takes a village. And because of all that hard work that's been put into Pittsburgh, simply for the love and belief in it, we're lucky enough now into 2020 to have our first official brand ambassador and 2 national key specialists. I actually have them up here on the slide, Brett Curry, April Ferrero, and Kevin Salmon, Kevin Salmon is our Campari key account specialist. And we are so fortunate and lucky to have them in these positions. And to people in larger markets, this might seem like small potatoes, but this is huge for us. We finally have people that live in our city and go to our bars and know that we can offer and fight for opportunities for us.
And we were able to get those positions because we were able to actually, like I said, when you're dealing with reps, they have agendas that they need to push and they have to try to achieve. By helping them achieve that helps raise their status. So, Kevin, example, April as example, were both my local reps that got promoted into those specialized brand reps as well. They all worked with Southern Wine, Southern Glacier Wine and Spirits. And then because of their sales for their products, Campari and Beam respectively, they were able to get almost hired by those companies and represent those companies out here because we showed those brands that if there's somebody here, we will support. And those brands saw it worthwhile to get somebody on the ground to represent their brands in this market because they saw an amazing return on having that. So, supporting these people when they throw events, show up, ask questions, call them, bring them into your place, ask them what can we do together to work. They will gladly bend over backwards to help your bar program and whatever means they can to help get visibility for their brands.
Yeah, April was just here with us yesterday and helping us with small things that we need. And so we're very grateful for them and having, as we grow, having people be put in those positions, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So while we encourage others in small markets to take the steps that we have kind of put out there and leverage their disadvantages into something successful and remarkable, it's still an uphill battle and will continue to be until, and bear with me here, this industry as a whole can band together to garner attention and support of small markets. So this is kind of now our plea to the brand people out there in the universe. So to our brand friends out there, we implore you to raise hell in support of your small markets. They need just as much help, if not more, when it comes to resources and education. And we can speak from a place of firsthand knowledge that when you pay attention to a small market, acknowledge their presence and give them support, you have a buyer for life. Whereas when you walk into the next bar in a large market, you might not be even given the time of day. Wouldn't you rather allocate more time, energy, and money somewhere where you could ensure a return on your investment? When Cecil and I sat on the USBG Pittsburgh Executive Council, we were able to leverage our relationships with brands from our trips out of market and bring them to our city, where these brands were met with events that were filled with 50+ bartenders with buying power. As a council, we also worked hard to find donated spaces, collaborate on event planning, and work within small budgets to make a big first impression with very little money, knowing full well that our counterparts in large markets were given larger budgets and didn't have to jump through all of those hoops. Every brand ambassador that came through Pittsburgh was blown away by not only the sheer amount of participation, but the sincere engagement of the group. And because some of those brand ambassadors or brand reps saw the immediate return on investment in Pittsburgh, they continued to come back, and with them more followed, and more bartenders continued to show up for all these exciting opportunities they were never exposed to before. So while we sat on the USBG Pittsburgh Executive Council, our chapter grew to the second largest chapter in the Northeast. Little teeny tiny 301,048 person population Pittsburgh had a larger active constituency than DC, Boston, and Philadelphia. How? Like, we just have a lot of people here who are really excited and engaged and literally just needed someone to notice them. And we are sure that the same applies to all small markets.
Yeah, you have to leverage whatever groups that you guys have, and I think organizing together. I know DC has other guilds as well, which all utilize to do leverage. Doesn't have to be the USBG. It could be any group of bars committed to work together to want to release their paralysis. You have to show as a market that you guys have the ability to leverage for brands. Because again, this is a working system where we have to take care of all parties involved. So unifying together, being able to say, hey, if we bring in these products, we buy this, can you guys help us with this? You know, organizing, unifying, connecting together is a very, very important job. It can't be done again alone. We've mentioned that several times during this talk, where one bar can't be known as the only bar in a city. You have to raise the whole level of everybody, and it has become the goal of the city almost, or the whole bartending community.
Yeah. So that's all we got for you today. If there's any questions, you can hit us with them.
Doesn't look like we got any questions. You guys were super thorough. I mean, just to reiterate, a lot of those things hit home for me. Coming from DC, as you guys just mentioned, you know, it is a little bit of a smaller market that has grown and got a lot of brand representation in the last few years, just like y'all. But it, you know, working with brands, it's a two-way street. You know,
Yeah.
some buyers or bars think that, hey, this brand should do everything for me, but really it is a little bit of it's a relationship. So you gotta, you know, give and take and work together, because when you build that trust from them and they'll build that trust in you, you're both going to get more out of it. So
For sure.
definitely agree.
And it's key to everything is like I said, we have to take care of everybody involved. All parties have to feel, you know, heard and taken care of, and, you know, seeking out the support. We need the support of brands. You know, we need the support of our staffs. We need the support of our guests. You know, it's a lot of people that we're all trying to make happy, and it's a full-time job, as we all know. So the more that we can help and grow that, everybody's going to want to help out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that I just want to reiterate is the networking aspect. I mean, I personally wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't put myself out there, get a little out of my comfort zone, go and meet hundreds of strangers at these big events, right? And I know they're not happening right now, but things will come back eventually. And if you are listening or watching from a small market, really, really think about it. Get out there, get out of your comfort zone, make new friends, network, meet people, because you never know. Like they say at Camp Run Amok, you don't know if you're going to meet your best friend, your next boss, your spouse, your partner, whatever it may be, you know.
Yeah.
But it happens at these events. It's huge, and it gets people to that next level to learn the things they need to learn to not only grow themselves and their personal brand, but grow their market.
Yeah, I mean, we do have in a lot of ways a dream job where we can have fun with each other, meeting people. But, you know, when all that ends and we go back to our professional lives, these are, you know, some of the major players in our industry. So being able to meet them without the guise of, oh, where do you work or what do you do? You know, you kind of break down those initial walls and realize, oh, yeah, that person I was just running around with and we were having a good time. They run this amazing bar program. Now I can ask them questions. I can, you know, learn from them. Or, oh yeah, they work for this brand. Oh my God, I love that brand. Now I have a connection to these things. So leveraging as much as you can and being, you know, aware of that is key when you're kind of coming from the, you know, a smaller place, because you don't have those opportunities happening to you every day.
Yeah. And it also stood out to me, you know, the whole part about humility. You know, you can be super passionate and humble at the same time.
Absolutely.
And, you know, before being a brand ambassador myself, the last couple of years, I loved what I was doing as a bartender. I had just left a lead bartender position where it was essentially, as a lot of people know, being a head bartender, it's almost being a manager as well. And, you know, I left that to go to another bar to just bartend again. And I still absolutely loved what I was doing. And then when I got this job, I like to say it was the dream job that I didn't even know I wanted, because I was already so into what I was doing. So I know it's a really tough time right now for everybody, but if you love this industry, if you love what you've been doing, stick with it. Things will return. I really believe in that. And I believe in passion, and I believe in being humble. So I think you guys hit that nail on the head for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you touched on that. I think it's hard seeing on the internet so many people that we know, not only from Pittsburgh, but in other places, like posting that they're just thinking about getting out of the industry because of everything that's going on. Definitely hurts, you know what I mean? But we, right now, just because we were able to position ourselves before all this happened, during COVID, like in a creative way, we are busier than we've ever been. And we hope to talk about that, not to brag in any way, shape, or form, but to just show that the opportunities are out there. If you go outside of your comfort zone, I think a lot of bartenders have just always been so used to there always just being another bar that they can go work at. And this is the first time that's never been the case. But by finding your other skills and really honing into that and getting creative and leaning on people like your brand reps and us or anybody else that is any of these classes and getting creative about it, there is so much room to flourish within this industry.
Yeah, we're going to survive. And so it's going to be the ones who, you know, innovate. It's going to be the next things that are creative. And so why not you? You know, right now, this might be, you know, unfortunately an equalizer where there's going to be a lot of good places that aren't going to survive this, unfortunately. But in order to survive, they're going to be the new trendsetters in your markets, in your city. So right now is a great time that if you have the time, learn, you know, reach out to your reps, connect with people, try to gather as much as you can so that you can be put in a position that, you know, for best set up for success.
Yeah. So speaking of innovating and trends, we actually got a question. What are some of y'all's favorite publications to follow to learn trends outside of the area? So I guess if they're living in a small market, but they want to know what's going on in some bigger markets, are there any good websites or, you know, virtual magazines, videos, things like that you guys
yeah, pull up your list. She has a whole list.
It's not even a list. I mean, I look at everything. I'm the kind of person where I simply Google everything and then I will read everything. So things from Punch to Imbibe, Jeffrey Morgenthaler's website's always great. Cooking Issues with Dave Arnold is always great. Whatever smaller ones that I'm missing, then I look at a bunch.
Because I have so many now Facebook friends with people that I've met at through different events, I actually use that, honestly. Like I have everyone like in a friends column and a filter and just use that. They're constantly posting articles. And that way, like I will find things that I would have never found like necessarily on my own. It's a constant reinforcement. I can get different perspectives that way and relying on like my friends in that kind of aspect. I like to also like I look at hop, like I like to not just like do cocktail stuff, but also right now we're working on like a big beer program. So I look at hop culture for a beer, like Twitter and like Reddit, all these like underground Reddit threads are kind of like where I go to kind of seek out information, especially what my community wants. Like right now with the bars that we're opening, we want to be sure we're supporting local and giving the community something that it actually needs during this time. And so using those threads and interactions of just making sure that we understand our potential guest and customer base. What else do we do?
I always look to food as well.
Yeah.
Getting creative with like actual cocktail flavor profile. Reach out, talk to a chef, talk to cooks. They are real creative with honing in flavors, and there's a lot of things that are applicable, flavor profile wise, that where if I see a really good dish where I liked how they did strawberries with black pepper and balsamic, and I'm like, that would be good in a drink. You know, maybe I could do a balsamic black pepper strawberry shrub, and now add that, you know, with Wild Turkey bourbon and do a kind of smash. So getting creative outside of the normal areas for drinks, looking at food, salads and other things like that, dressings, gastriques.
We also like to kind of, again, like talking about being creative and thinking outside the box. We spend a lot of time on TikTok. Like a lot of time on TikTok. Once you kind of get past like all the dances, there's actually a lot of like really great content as far as like marketing and like every kind of niche that you could possibly imagine on postings. And we've using that, and also a book that we really like is Crushing It by Gary Vee, which is all about social media marketing and of that nature. And you can begin to see different social media platforms from different eyes. And then if you are looking to be more creative in like what you're doing for yourself, your bar program or wherever it may be, that's going to give you so many cool ideas and insights on how you can use these platforms that you might not have been thinking about before.
Yeah. And you know, I'll add a little bit to that as well. I mean, I think liquor.com actually does a pretty good job at wrapping up like trends and things that are happening, whether they're kind of generic or unique, but, and kind of something that Cecil mentioned earlier, going to Portland Cocktail Week's Facebook, Tales of the Cocktail, James Beard Foundation, all of these websites have like past presentations and things that maybe they're not on the newest trends if they came out a couple of years ago, but it doesn't mean you've seen it or you've heard of it. So, I mean, there's certain things like that that I've used to inspire myself in the past for sure.
Yeah, great point. There's plenty of resources of things that already happened. There's probably already been a class about it, or somebody's asked that question. So even just techniques and new tips from, some of the best minds. It's like watching TED Talks. There's all the information is out there that if you want to know about it, you can find it.
And there's another trip, like if you're in any of these like industry related groups, whether it's like Thirsty has one or it's like if you've been a camp alum, like not only asking people, but if you click within search within that group and like put in a keyword, if like you really want to know about fat washing, or whatever technique or style, or if you want to know something about like management systems or how you do scheduling, like if you literally type in keywords, every post that's ever been posted in those groups will come up. So you can kind of link into this without having to like reach out to a whole network of community all over again to get that information. A lot of it is already there for you.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if there are no more questions, and if you guys have touched on everything you meant to, I just want to thank you guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I don't know if you guys have any other shout outs or any last words you want to say.
No, just thank you all our friends out there. We miss you guys. We can't wait to get into one big cuddle puddle with everybody again. Everybody be safe, take care of each other, love one another. And like I said, we're going to make it through this. We're a strong industry. We're resilient. Nothing can keep us down as long as we work together, work with our brands, work with inside our communities. We're going to see the end through this. So thank you guys again. Thank you, Kafari America, Wild Turkey.
Thank you guys. It's
Brussels.
so great seeing you.
Yeah, great to see you guys. So don't forget their name, Mindful Hospitality Group. They're killing it. They're keeping busy. I'm sure you can hit them up. Do you guys want to give a shout out to like an email or anything? A best way to hit you guys up?
Absolutely. So if you to email us, the Mindful Hospitality Group at gmail.com is kind of like our main hub for all kind of like generic questions. Also like on Instagram at Mindful Hospitality Group, we have a Facebook page. We're happy to answer any and all questions. If you just want to say, hey, we also try to do, if you have something that you want promoted that you're doing that's really cool in your community, we do a lot of reposting, especially like through our Instagram story, and just trying to kind of like spread the love to everything that's going on there in the industry.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again on behalf of Campari Academy, Wild Turkey, Portland Cocktail Week. Just thank y'all for the work that you put in for this seminar. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. This was really great. This was like reinvigorating to me. I know we're all like at home. It's a little harder right now for sure. But it just helped me remember why I love this industry so much. And that,
fun, passion.
Yeah, that's all it takes. So one more shameless plug for myself. You guys can follow me at Benny Bourbon 101 on Instagram. Tomorrow I'll be going live with some fun content about some limited edition wild bottles. So check that out if you guys are free tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think that about does it.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.